Okay, so we're still doing system equations, but now we're trying system equations by elimination. So one thing to look for, really the only time you want to use the elimination method, get my pen out here, is all your x's, all your y's, and all your constants should be lined up. So if I had the 9y on the right-hand side, I would have to rearrange it. So everything needs to be lined up in our two equations. Then it's just 3 steps. And we're going to follow those same 3 steps on all these problems. First one is multiply one or both equations so we end up with opposite terms. So we want the coefficient of either x or y to be opposites. So if I have 12x, I'd want negative 12x here, and that way we can actually eliminate. So I want to multiply this bottom equation by some number that I will have the opposite value of what I have in my top equation. So looking at y, that doesn't help us out too much because 3 times no integer is going to give us 8, and I don't want to deal with decimals and fractions here. But I know 6 times 2 is 12, so if I want the opposite, I can multiply this by negative 2. Okay? So we copy this first equation down, nothing happened to that one, 12x plus 8y equals 4. Then we take the second equation, multiply everything by negative 2. So that gives us negative 12x minus 6y equals negative 6 times negative 2 is positive 12. Okay? And then what we're going to do is we're just going to add these 2 equations together. So 12x minus 12x, that cancels. That's the whole point. 8y minus 6y is 2y. And then 4 plus 12 is 16. And now we've gotten rid of the system of equations. We just have one simple short equation to solve for y. So we divide both sides by 2. And we get y equals 8. So there's half of our answer. And now I just want to take that and bring it back into one of my 2 equations from the beginning. Doesn't matter which one. Let's go with the top one since it doesn't have negatives. So 12x plus 8 times 8 equals 4. So this can be 12x plus 64 equals 4. And then we're just solving for x. So subtract 64 from both sides. So 12x equals negative 60. Let's see. We divide both sides by 12. We get x is negative 5. So we take those 2, we put them together, and we get a final answer of negative 5, comma 8. We could check that if we put it into our bottom equation. So negative 5 times 6 is negative 30. 3 times 8 is 24. And we can see negative 30 plus 24 is negative 6. That checks out. This is our final answer. Okay, so 3 steps. Multiply one of your equations by some number so we can actually eliminate. Add the equations together to do the actual elimination part, and then solve for one variable. And then take that answer, substitute it back to solve for the second. Okay? Might seem like a lot once you get into it, hopefully not too bad. Let's try one more. So same 3 steps. So I look at my 2 equations. I see smaller numbers on the bottom, so I'm going to multiply on my bottom equation by something. So I don't know what I can multiply 4 by. That'll give me 38. But I see 12 and 6. So again, and you're going to see this a lot, you can just multiply that by negative 2. So we copy our equations down. 38x plus 12y equals 12. Take our bottom equation, multiply everything through by negative 2, so that's negative 8x minus 12y. 6 times negative 2 is minus 12. And then we're just going to add these 2 equations together. So 38 minus 8 is 30x. 12 minus 12, that cancels. And then added bonus, 12 minus 12 cancels again. So 30x just equals 0. And anything divided into 0 don't know why I put 33. I don't even know why I'm working this out. Hopefully you'll know what this answer is. X equals 0. Okay, so far so good. And now we just take that, put it back into one of our equations. Let's put in the top one. So 38 times 0 plus 12y equals 12. So 38 times 0 is nothing. So 12y equals 12. Or if we divide both sides by 12, we get y equals 1. That's not too bad. So our answer would be 0, 1. We could check that. 4 times 0 is 0. 6 times 1 is 6. 0 plus 6 does equal 6. That checks out. Okay, same 3 steps every time. If you want to pause it, write this down so you can see it. But that's eliminations. One other thing I will tell you, if you multiply something out, if everything goes away, if everything cancels out, you're left with nothing. If you're left with, after you eliminate, if you're all left is 0 equals 0, then you have an infinite number of solutions. Because the only way you could end up with nothing after you eliminate is if you had this exact same equation. So equation minus itself is nothing. So if you try to eliminate and you're left with nothing at all, then the answer is an infinite number of solutions. Okay? If you ended up with, and you won't see it today, we'll see it tomorrow. If you eliminate and you're left with 0 equals some number, doesn't matter what that some number is, if it's anything other than 0, then you would have an answer of no solution. Because the x and y would cancel out, which means they're parallel to begin with. The only difference is the y-intercept. So that would be no solution. So there's your special cases. You'll see more of that later on. Okay, ask questions if you need to.